Welcome back to another episode of How I Got the Shot. In today's episode, we'll be checking out a dope photo shoot I did at Gulfstream Park in Hallandale, Florida. This fashion photo shoot will focus on one look, but at various locations throughout the space. My model is 16-year-old Kenya, the daughter of one of my good friends, Antoine. He's been someone who supported me for years, and not just in words, but at various photo shoots throughout the years. My transition to working in Miami was made a lot easier with someone like him on my side. First things first, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe as inspiration finds you. Let's make sure YouTube knows that this is the kind of content that folks like. Second thing is gear. So I shot with a Canon R5 and switched between the EF 24-70 and 70-200. My strobe is a Profoto D1 and B1X, and I use the 5-foot octobox as the modifier. Occasionally I use my 6-foot reflector fill in the shadows, but for the most part I was using the Profoto D1X. All right, the third thing, this is where I stop counting also, so I can talk normal, is the concept. So I'm going to pull up the mood board right here. You guys can look through some of what I showed her when she sent me over what she wanted to create. This is her 16th birthday present, so I wanted to make sure she got the full model experience. This means sharing her mood board, having my assistants there, make sure we're capturing BTS footage, giving her guidance as we walk through the mood board, and shooting tethered into Capture One. This way she can review the images in real time. After spending a few minutes looking through the images in the mood board and discussing what she should expect from me and vice versa, I began testing my light. I don't use a light meter, but instead I use the eye test. This means making an educated guess on what my settings should be, taking a shot, and reviewing in the Capture One. If this were a commercial project, I show the final lighting scenario. Rather, I'll show the final images that I'm taking to my client, but in this case, it was her parents and her grandma. Once everybody was happy, we actually began the real shooting. All right, so this first location was very busy, but the character complemented her dress well. I like to make sure that if the dress is simple, then the background has character, and if the wardrobe or the dress has a lot of character in the background, it'd be a lot simpler. I love the color of the background, but that didn't need to be totally in focus. This didn't mean shooting at a 2.8, but it did mean using the compression that I could get from the 24-70. Most of the compression you're going to get is going to be at the 70mm mark. I could have switched to the 70-200 to get even more compression, but I didn't deem it necessary at the time. Kenya did a great job remembering the poses I gave her and executing them, so this really allowed me to focus on composition and lighting. After we got those shots and everybody was happy, we moved over to the second location. So the second location was just on the opposite side of where we were. My goal with that location was to find a spot at the bar that didn't look like it was a bar. She's 16, so I didn't want to communicate any bad habits or age inappropriate behavior. I wanted her to be able to sit for a few images, and we found a spot without any bottles and no direct indication to where she was. And I also removed anything that would let you know that it was a bar in Photoshop. From a lighting perspective, I shot primarily again with the Profoto D1X, but I added in a reflector once I zoomed in on her for tight shots. I didn't want the shots to look too dramatic, so using a reflector bounced light into those shadow areas, and also I boosted the shadow just a little bit in Capture One. Now there were a ton of people around us, but the model stayed focused, which was great. Like, I was very proud of the fact that she was able to lock in on what we were doing, because I've actually been on shoots with seasoned models and they'll get distracted by all the things and the sounds that are happening around us. So once we got those shots, showed it to the parents, everybody's happy. We left that location and we went to a large staircase. Now, this was something that I made sure we had because it was in her mood board. I always require input from whoever I'm shooting because I want to make sure that I'm bringing their concept to life with my standard. So the more input I get from my clients, the better. In Florida, we don't handle cold that well. I know if you guys have ever been here, like Floridians, if the temperature goes below 70 degrees, we're pulling out coats and furs and gloves and just everything. So it was pretty much nowhere in there for the most part. So that made it a lot easier. I'm really glad that people stay home. I did notice that the stair had a bit of, I don't know, let's call it gunk. I don't know. It just had some stuff on the stairs. I removed the majority of it in post, but because of the pattern, you really didn't see it. Like, it wasn't like a crazy thing that super stood out, but I just figured I would just clean it up because that's how my brain works. Um, and we got the shots that she wanted. I got the shots that I wanted from the location. Once everybody was happy, we moved on to the next location. So I feel like I've said location like 3 billion times already. And let's add in one more. The next location was upstairs, and it featured a walkway with these really nice columns on the side. So I used those and the palm trees behind her to frame her in the shots. And in some shots, it gave her something to lean on. So I'm really big on letting my clients or my models interact with their locations. Once we got the safe shot, she was able to move, freely and just pose in ways that fit what she was wearing and that fit the mood board. We were only there for a short period of time because at this point, she become very comfortable with me and the location and just being in front of the camera. I could tell like her intuition started to kick in and her pose just improved as time went on. Once we was finished there, we drove to the last location. Again, we're going to say, I feel like that's going to be the theme this episode: location, location, location. All right. So me being the me I am, I did not want to go through the hassle of breaking down my 5-foot octabox. So, all right. Yep. So now we have made it to the location. And as you can see, that statue is huge. Now, this part of the session actually was not planned. So there was nothing in the mood board that, gave me an indication of what we're going to get here. But when we asked her if she wanted to do anything else, she specifically asked for the statue. So we drove over there, and I just knew I had to play it by ear. By this time of day, the weather had completely changed from earlier. So it was no longer cloudy and Florida cold. Florida cold, 65 degrees. And it changed over to just being very bright and warm. So I had to adjust my lighting accordingly. The first thing I did was I created some shade with her, still using the B1X. Putting her in shade gives, even light on my subject, and then I can light her the way I want to. And then I switched from that to shooting her directly in the sun and using the reflector to bounce light back on her. This ended up being my favorite lighting that we have for the whole day because it really made her pop out. And I like for my subjects to pop off of wherever they are. Overall, this was a great shoot. My biggest thing when I'm working with teenagers or kids is making sure the parents are happy, making sure the kid is happy and comfortable. And I was able to achieve that day. You guys can see through the final edits, like they came out great. She was super, super excited. Like, I just love the fact that she was so excited. And I know maybe it's because I'm a dad that like seeing another dad like so happy and his daughter so happy just made me happy. There's just a bunch of buckets of happy everywhere. I don't know what that even means, but we were just happy that we all did a good job and that it worked itself out. Yeah, so that's it. So, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm all about things being authentic. So if you don't feel like it, you ain't got to do it. But I appreciate if you would. There will be more content coming soon. Also, don't forget, I know we're out here creating for everybody else. We're creating for our clients. We're making sure everybody else is happy. But make sure you put time to the side for yourself. Got to create for you. All right. See you in the next one. Peace.